Hello, I am Bonnie Hawley, Executive Director of Friends of Santa Cruz State Parks, or Friends, and I want to welcome you to our first annual Friends public meeting. Let's see. So first, I want to thank you for joining us and supporting our beautiful state parks and beaches. I'd also like to welcome our Friends board members, volunteers, staff, consultants, and our colleagues at state parks, including Chief Ranger Mike McMenemy and Superintendent Chris Sporer, who you'll be hearing from shortly. Before we get into the report, a few items of housekeeping. First, this meeting is being recorded. I see that we so far have 28 people are signed on. I'm sure more will be joining us. I also want to let you know that while you will be able to see the panelists, you will not be able to see each other. And then also want to let you know that the chat is live and there's also a question and answer tab. We'll do Q&A at the end, but you will have two options. You can raise your hand throughout the course of the meeting to be put on a list to be recognized, or you can type your questions into the window at the Q&A tab. So tonight I'm going to tell you a story about who we are at Friends, how we support our parks and beaches, and highlights of what we accomplished together in a very difficult year. Now, it will require your imagination to transport yourself back in time, because our report covers July of 2019 to June of 2020. So before we get started, I just want to sort of put out a challenge, which is, even if you know a lot about Friends, I really hope that you will learn something new tonight. So next slide, please. Thank you. So as our mission statement explains, Friends is a vital nonprofit partner with California State Parks, creatively working to ensure our cherished local parks and beaches are thriving and available to all. Friends' innovative and collaborative community partnership provides support and investment for education, equity and inclusion, conservation, facilities improvements, historic preservation, and cultural events. We've been around since 1976, which means we're celebrating 45 years as a nonprofit. Our current contract with state parks has been in effect since September of 2019, and it's called a co-management agreement. We're having this meeting tonight to publicly report highlights of our activities and accomplishments. And you can read the full report at our website at that'smypark.org, or look for the direct link at the end of this presentation. As I mentioned, the time period that we're reporting is July of 2019 to June of 2020. Next slide. So as a nonprofit, we have a lot of big complex responsibilities under our co-management agreement with state parks, and they are to provide visitor services, facilitate public access to park resources, improve park facilities, support and provide interpretive and educational services, provide protection of and stewardship of natural and cultural and historic lands and resources, and finally, to assist with the care, maintenance, operation, administration, restoration, and improvement and development of parks. So now I'd like to introduce our partner in all of our work to support our local state parks and beaches, Santa Cruz District Superintendent Chris Sporer.
Thanks very much, Bonnie. Good evening, everybody. I am Chris Sporer. I'm the district superintendent for the Santa Cruz District of State Parks, and I feel very fortunate to first have the privilege to manage what are clearly the most beautiful parks and beaches in the state, and to have the support of such a strong partner in the Friends of Santa Cruz State Parks. So we are one of 22 park districts, all charged with protecting the most valued cultural and natural resources while providing education and interpretation of those resources and offering high quality recreational opportunities. Each district helps support the whole system. While still contributing to the statewide park system, The high functioning partnership we have with friends allows us to focus resources on beaches and parks in Santa Cruz and San Mateo by keeping much of the revenue local. The operating agreement we have with friends allows us to more effectively co-manage the parks in our district as a team. What you will see tonight are examples of these benefits and how friends complements our park management with their strengths. This public nonprofit partnership has created unique opportunities to focus attention on and invest in education, equity and inclusion, and community involvement. It has also allowed us to expand programming and complete projects that we otherwise could not accomplish. Also, as we all know, unexpected events occur all the time. Take the pandemic as just one recent example. The nimbleness and flexibility Friends brings to this partnership allows us to respond to these unexpected events more swiftly and effectively, ultimately enhancing park operations locally. I think our public nonprofit partnership is an excellent model for park management and a large part of the success we enjoy in the district. So thanks very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Chris. Pleasure to work with you every day and your team. I see we're up to 37 people online, and we've been joined by Deputy District Superintendent Jordan Burgess. So welcome, Jordan. So now I'd like to tell you a little bit more about who we are. So our Friends team works in close partnership with state park staff, and our team includes volunteers, our dedicated board of directors, 90 field staff, including senior visitor service aides and visitor service aides. We also have 16 program staff, and we work with a wide variety of consultants, builders, planners, and many professionals in the community who help us take care of the parks. So where do we do our work? Friends supports 34 amazingly diverse parks and beaches in Santa Cruz County and coastal San Mateo County, from Watsonville all the way to the San Francisco County line. And you see from that list, it's quite a diverse group, as I mentioned, and I'm wondering if anybody's been to all of those parks, or maybe you have a favorite park you keep going back to again and again. So now we've talked a little bit about what we do, who we are, and where we work, and now we're getting to the time traveling part of our program. So as I said, we're here tonight to report to you about activities from July of 2019 to June of 2020. So think back before the CZU fires, before the pandemic, as some of us call it, the before times. And things started normally enough in 2019, but of course, by the spring of 2019, the whole world had changed. Next slide. In the summer of 2019, we were busily working with state parks and other partners on important projects. At the Santa Cruz Mission State Historic Park, we worked to replace stolen artifacts with funding from the California Missions Foundation and a generous donor. We held a series of pop-up picnics in the park and organized the 7th annual Mole and Mariachi Festival. The Pigeon Point Fog Signal Building rehabilitation was completed with many partners, including Coastside State Parks Association, the California State Parks Foundation, and the Maritime Heritage Foundation. And we also helped to open the new 33-acre Castle Rock State Park entrance station in a unique partnership with the Semper Virens Fund and State Parks. In addition, we replaced the Natural Bridges entrance kiosk, completed projects in Nicene Marks, including dust abatement, road and culvert repair, and the installation of a gate at Buzzards Lagoon. We also entered into this new co-management agreement with state parks. And then the whole world changed. So 2020 became a year of constantly changing conditions that challenged our team's resilience, and I'm sure challenged every one of you. In February, as the growing threat of COVID became clear, we moved quickly to figure out best practices to keep the public and our staff safe. We were acquiring precious cleaning supplies, handing out PPE, and instituting ever-changing protocols. That became our daily challenge. Then when the parks completely closed on March 18th, it was like our organization dropped off a cliff. Although we plummeted to nearly zero revenue overnight, we resolved to keep our staff on the payroll. It was the right thing to do, and it also meant that we could be nimble for whatever came next. We quickly adjusted our budget and priorities, postponing events and projects, slashing our operating budget by 30%, and instituting a partial furlough for our program staff. Our field staff moved to help wherever they could within the closed parks, helping state parks explain the new rules and help keep people safe. And we enacted a broad range of shelter-in-place activities to bring nature home, from live stream virtual programming to publishing a nature reading list, downloadable coloring pages, and information to learn bird calls. And we also offered online learning resources and even the beautiful Zoom background that you see behind me now. In mid-May, limited public access to the parks was resumed. We were able to quickly deploy our field staff, and once reopened, the public flocked to their beloved parks and beaches. As you may remember, though, it wasn't gates wide open. There were partial openings, and sometimes parks and beaches opened and closed and opened and closed again. But despite the many financial challenges in 2019-20, Friends still managed to provide $7,116,309 worth of support for our parks and beaches. This was accomplished through three main funding streams. The first, a share of state park revenue from annual passes, camping fees, day use fees, campground showers, and firewood, which enabled us to provide support worth $4,709. The next source of funding was from generous community contributions, including from memberships, business contributions and sponsorships, events, grants, planned giving, special initiatives like tribute tables and pennies for parks, and also in-kind donation. That added up to $232,263 of park support. So despite the deep economic uncertainty, the community continued to support our parks. The third source of support was through store sales. At our park stores at Wilder Ranch, Natural Bridges, the Santa Cruz Mission State Historic Park, Seacliff, New Brighton, and the park store online, as well as pop-up events, and our wholesale customers, including Bookshop Santa Cruz, Epicenter Cycling, and more, enabled us to acquire $221,666 for park support. So how did we use that funding in 2019-20 to support our parks and beaches? So first, we were able to fund 32 state parks education and interpretation staff and pay for a wide variety of supplies and services, including field trip supplies and transportation, the Wilder Ranch Farm Animal Program, training, volunteer supplies, small park projects, and many beloved special events such as Welcome Back Monarchs Day, Castro Adobe Open House events, the Seacliff Cement Ship 100th Anniversary, Heritage Harvest Festival, and many more. Beyond the education programs, Friends also funded an additional 12 state park positions, including park maintenance, senior park aides, the Trail Camp Network Staff Services Analyst, Road and Trails Assistant, and a historian. We also paid for a dazzling array of services and supplies, including signs, porta potties, and the ever necessary hand washing stations, dumpsters, aquarium maintenance, wilderness patrol supplies, taxidermy, lifeguard training, water treatment, and small park projects, including trail work. Our park operations budget also provided the Friends field staff, Friends program staff, field staff supplies, including the previously mentioned PPE, marketing, security, insurance, and payroll. And with the addition of another $571,000 worth of projects mentioned earlier that brought our total to $7,116,309. So finally, I'd like to highlight some of our special initiatives. One is Kids to Parks, which is an innovative park equity program to bring students from Title I schools on state park field trips. Before school closures, Kids to Parks provided 1,606 students with field trips to 8 state parks. This program was first piloted in the Pajaro Valley, but Kids to Parks now serve students from Watsonville to East San Jose to South San Francisco, and we're very proud of the equity and access that those field trips provide. Another initiative is the Beach Wheelchairs Program, which was funded by a grant from the Coastal Conservancy in cooperation with Shared Adventures. The program's now been fully rolled out from that early work in 2019, 2020. Also, the Commemorative Picnic Table Program, or as we like to call it, the Tribute Tables. Friends launched this program, which allows individuals for a $2,500 donation to honor a loved one or celebrate a milestone with a lasting gift of a high-quality redwood picnic table placed in a local park. The first 6 tables were placed in the 2019-2020 timeframe, and the program has since grown by leaps and bounds. Another special initiative we're extremely proud of is working with the community to create our newest state historic park, the Castro Adobe in Watsonville. We've been working for many years to project manage the Adobe preservation and restoration in collaboration with state parks. We've also been working together on interpretive planning, and we also manage the adjacent Friends-owned facilities at the Kimbrough House and McClune properties for park purposes. We were able to make tremendous progress together on the restoration and planning while the park was closed due to the pandemic. We're also very proud to have a dedicated group of regular garden volunteers who kept the gardens in great shape while observing strict COVID protocols. And I saw them out working hard on the site just today, and new volunteers are always welcome. So while I'm doing the report out tonight, these accomplishments reflect the work of hundreds of people who are also proud to work with our community to support our beautiful parks and beaches. So this wraps up the formal presentation, but we'd like to invite you to read the full operations report at the link on your screen. I'd like to now turn over the floor to Jennifer Murray to help us with the question and answer part of our program. So I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank everyone for being here. This is a great turnout tonight. I just want to remind everyone that you can participate now. You can raise your hand. There's a little button at the bottom of your screen to ask a question, and we'll call on you, or you can type your comments or questions into the chat or the Q&A, and we can read those aloud for you if you prefer to not speak. So I'll give everyone a minute to think about it, and feel free to raise your hand or ask a question. Thank you. Okay, I see here in the Q&A, Mary Dixon has a question. What is the process for having an event at the Castro Adobe?
That's a great question. Thanks, Mary. So we have not been having events due to the pandemic. That park will probably become more open to the public as our numbers keep going the right way as far as COVID is concerned, but you can contact our office either at ask@thatsmypark.org or call our office at 831-429-1840 and speak to our staff, and we can definitely help you work on that. We also have events sometimes at the Kimbrough House next door to the Castro Adobe, so we can definitely put you in touch with the right people at state parks to do events at the Adobe. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Chris.
Maybe we can just add the phone number for special events into the chat later.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Bonnie and Chris. Does anyone else have a question or a comment? Don't be shy. Well, it doesn't seem like anyone is speaking up right now. Oh, here, from Chrissy, what's next for Friends and State Parks? It's a big question.
Wow.
One thing, well, you know, this year right now, we're really focusing on fire recovery in a lot of ways, but we have an exciting project on the San Mateo coast, updating a lot of our public restrooms on the beaches there. So that will probably enter into next year's report out, but we're excited about that project, working with Friends on that.
Thanks, Chris. I would also say that there are going to be a lot of opportunities for public engagement in the Reimagining Big Basin process. So you can go to reimaginingbigbasin.org. There's also going to be the first webinar next Tuesday. You can find out about that at the website as well. So we're really hoping for robust community engagement in what comes next for that park.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Chris. Carolyn Lewis asked, where can we find out more about volunteer opportunities?
So there are definitely opportunities for volunteering with Friends. Also, State Parks has opportunities, everything from docent volunteers at specific parks to more general volunteers. So I would direct you to our website. And Chris, what's the best way for people to learn about state park volunteer opportunities?
So again, I think we can add contact info into the chat, but we have a volunteer coordinator in the district who can, you can contact, and we can get you information around what opportunities there are, and there are lots. We offer docent signups and trainings. We have the Wilderness Patrol. We have several ongoing programs that we invite people to volunteer for. And then oftentimes we need additional volunteers for things like trail work and events. So if I can't get that number for you immediately, we'll make sure it gets posted, that you can link to it on the Friends site as well.
Thanks, Chris. And we are, for those who are on their computers, we are dropping a few links in the chat with direct, so you can look at volunteer opportunities, the Big Basin recovery, and Reimagining Big Basin website. Those are all in the chat now for folks if they want them. A question from Ingrid: What is the progress on reopening the Skyline to the Sea trail?
Okay, so where we are in the recovery at Big Basin, because the Skyline to Sea trail, as far as it is, you know, the majority of it is in Big Basin and it's currently closed. We've been able to clear and make safe from hazard trees the roads within Big Basin and the public use areas that have formerly had facilities. So those areas have been cleared of tree hazards. We have over 100 miles of trail in the park, and between now, starting now, we are starting to work on the trails to make safe. We'll be starting at the headquarters area, looking to make some trails safe and potentially open by summer of 2022. The trails farther out into the backcountry, including the Skyline to Sea, will likely take a fair bit longer. And we've also done the evaluations of those trails and submitted all that for FEMA reimbursement. Many of the trails, like the Skyline to Sea trail, have a lot of structures on them. Unfortunately, trail bridges and puncheons, staircases and hand railings were all lost in the fire. So those sorts of constructed facilities on the trails are going to take time to replace. So I can't give you an exact time when that particular trail will be open, but know that starting now we are pushing to open trails as we can. And updates on all that will be on the Reimagining Big Basin website, so you can keep track.
Thanks, Chris. That's a very thorough answer. Another question from the chat. Can you outline the Big Basin recovery plan timeline, please? And I think you touched on a little bit of that there, but is there anything else we want to add to just be really clear about it?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. And I'm glad there's interest. So as Monty mentioned, the Reimagining Big Basin visioning process has started, and our first public engagement webinar is for November 16th. So I encourage everyone to go onto the Reimagining website and sign up for that. We are looking at probably a 9-month to 12-month process for this visioning and reimagining. That started several months ago, so we anticipate that portion of the planning process to wrap up by the end of next summer. And that will lead us and guide us with a shared public vision for the reimagined park into a more detailed planning process around public access and facilities. And that planning process will start as soon as we finish the reimagining process. And that will culminate in new drawings for new buildings, where we're going to be located, and then we will be able to go to construction for that. Along the way, we're going to be integrating public access into the park. We started by opening Rancho del Oso, the visitor center, and the Marsh Trail several months ago. The next push will be to open some limited public access in the basin, and that should be, we're targeting summer of 22 for that, and we will expand that public access from next summer going forward with limited facilities until we can get electricity and our water systems and wastewater systems rebuilt. But the long-term complete park is going to take many years to finish.
Thank you, Chris. That's, I think, some new information for folks there with your report. Another question somewhat related to Big Basin from Tracy Bliss. How has the needed focus on Big Basin impacted other parks?
Well, as you can imagine, the loss of all the historic structures, 18,000 acres that burned across one of our most popular campgrounds with over 225 campsites and cabins, that has taken a huge focus of the district. And I think with friends, staff as well, and the support that they've given us, we have had to pivot from a lot of other things that we were doing in order to focus on the recovery, the immediate needs of that. And that started with our cultural assessment. Friends was able to help us sort of with some pioneering new innovative techniques, do a very thorough cultural analysis. It took our entire cultural team plus cultural specialists from around the state to help with that. So I can't really quantify exactly how much of a change it's been, but for me in my job, I would say probably 90% of what I do now is the recovery of Big Basin, Año Nuevo, and Butno. And that's a significant change. And I will say, though, that we have tremendous support from partners like Friends and other nonprofit partners. We've had great support from this administration, from other government agencies, and I'm optimistic that we're on a good path for recovery and to a model new park. But I will say it has taken a fair bit of energy. And on the other side of the coin is that our staff and Friends staff together have been able to keep the parks running. We've kept things open. We've provided a high level of service. And so I don't think that the public would have noticed a change in the service levels although for all of our staff, we have had to put in a lot of extra time to focus on the recovery.
And if I might add to that, I think in addition to the impacts on staff, I feel like the 1 million people who used to go to Big Basin are still going to our area state parks. They're going to Henry Cowell, they're going, all over, they're going to Butno, maybe trying out some new parks, but it feels like overall, at least from our perspective, that the park visitation hasn't necessarily dropped off, it's moved locations.
Thank you both for those answers. Next question from Joe. How can the community support work in our favorite parks?
Thank you, Joe. Well, there are many ways. I outlined all the different ways that we're able to raise money and spend it locally, everything from becoming a Friends member, shopping in our stores, and very importantly, paying your parking fees. A majority of those funds stay local to support our parks. So even, when you go camping, buy firewood from friends, all of that money stays local to support our parks. So everything from the environmental token program at New Leaf and Wild Roots, that's an easy way to support us. Donations of any size are always welcome. Volunteering. There are millions of ways to get involved in our parks and to support us. And also by visiting our parks and taking good care of them, caring about the culture, caring about the natural resources, bringing kids, all of that I think is really helpful. So thanks for the question, Joe.
Thanks, Bonnie. The next question is from Chrissy. How is wildfire prevention and resilience at parks being addressed?
That's a great question, Chrissy. It's in a lot of different ways. And I would say we've put a real focus on fuel reduction, fuel modification in various forms. We have been doing projects in partnership with the Resource Conservation District and CAL FIRE to create shaded fuel breaks along some of the main access corridors. You'll notice along Graham Hill Road at Henry Cowell that's occurring. We continue to do prescribed fire in many of our parks in different fuel types. That's a big push, and that you'll see that expanded into Big Basin as we steward that park in the future. That's one of the themes. We do a lot of interpretation and outreach, educating the public about fuels, wildfire safety, the kind of stewardship that we do and how they can help with that. So in various ways, and I would say that right now we probably have more funding support for fuel reduction and wildfire preparedness than we've ever had. So I think that's good, and we're looking forward to continued projects.
Thank you, Chris. Does anyone else have a question? It looks like we covered everything. Team, good job.
Well, thank you. Well, just in closing, please visit our website for more information about Friends, view the full report, contact us with any other questions. And I also want to thank Chris for your remarks and for being with us tonight to answer questions. Thanks to the Friends team for helping to put this presentation together. Special thanks to Audrey for these beautiful slides and to the Miller Maxfield team for the tech support tonight. It takes a village to support our parks, and we appreciate you joining us here tonight and for all you do to support our beloved parks and beaches. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.